right, welcome everyone. We are officially going to start our program now. Welcome to the virtual Pasadena Senior Center and our Zoom refresher workshop on Zoom. I'm Annie Lasky, the Director of Events. I really thank you all for joining us today. A lot of new names, new faces. Great to see you. For those of you who are new to us, the Pasadena Senior Center offers arts and culture programming, physical fitness, and social service to older adults. We are an independent, donor-supported nonprofit organization. We rely on our partners, donors, and members to be able to continue bringing you programming such as this. There's a lot of our members in the audience today, so thank you so much for supporting us. It's really important to us, especially during these very difficult times we're in right now. It has been a year since the pandemic health risks forced our physical doors to close. We have been holding classes, lectures, and even parties online since then, trying to keep seniors connected as best we can. I'm sorry to say that it will still be some time before our programs are able to become fully in person again. We will be continuing our online events through the spring. In fact, we have a new quarter of online classes starting April 12th. We have all sorts of stuff from ballroom dancing to watercolor to French to current news. It's just a really great schedule. So do check it out at www.pasadenaseniorcenter.org. It is all, of course, beamed into the comfort of your own home via Zoom. Yes, Zoom, the topic of today's presentation. It has enabled us to stay connected to an amazing degree, but it does have its limitations. One of those limitations is that the larger the group, the harder it is to have conversations. Because there are so many people on this call today, we ask you to use the chat function to ask questions and make comments, and Pete will be telling you how to use the chat function if you're not familiar with it. We will have you muted through much of the program, but there will be points at which we will enable you to unmute and ask your question audio-wise if you're not good at typing like me. It always takes me a really long time to put anything in the chat. So to start off with, I just want to put Zoom in context. It was basically created as a video conferencing service, allowing people in different locations to see each other and share visual presentations. A meeting, basically. Over the past year, people like us have stretched and prodded this technology to use it for everything we were trying to do before: concerts, lunch parties, dance parties, classes, with varying levels of success and frustration. I'm sure all of you have felt some of that success and some of that frustration. Ultimately, I find that understanding what Zoom was created for actually helps understand how to use it. So just as if you were attending a meeting in person, you need to see who's speaking and you need to hear them. You need to be able to ask or answer questions or voice an opinion. You may or may not need to be seen or heard, depending upon the meeting you're attending. It also helps to suit your behavior, your etiquette, to the meeting that you are in. And the way I liken it is, are you meeting with the boss or is it casual Friday? You're going to dress differently, you're going to behave differently. And Zoom is like that. It depends on what event you're coming to, sort of how you need to interact with the Zoom. So don't expect too much out of Zoom, but absolutely be thankful and embrace everything it can do for us, because it's enabled us to see and talk to each other in a way that just wouldn't even have thought possible 10, 20 years ago. But it does have its limitations. So we have two guests today that are going to help us navigate the Zoomiverse, as I call it. And our first is Pete Matus, and he is, well, I call him our Zoom czar. He is a staff at the Pasadena Senior Center and takes care of all of our Zoom needs for us and helps out with programming. So welcome, Pete. Thank you for joining us today. Whoops, and you're muted, Pete.
I know how to use Zoom, I promise. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. And then I also would like to welcome to our, whoops. Let's see, let's see, I already don't know how to use Zoom. There we go. We are going to add Lynn Meal to our group here. And Lynn is on our board of directors for the Pasadena Senior Center. And I thank her for that. But one of the really remarkable things about Lynn is that she is professor of psychology and kinesiology at Occidental College. And consequently, she has been Zooming for the past year and has really been helpful to me about how to sort of conquer some of this. So I am going to remove myself from the little party here while Pete gets us started with the technology bits, and then Lynn will join us for some of the etiquette bits, and I'll keep watch of your questions. And we have about an hour for this program, but we don't have to log off exactly at noon. So we will we'll keep on going if there's more questions. And we'll also, as we have done before, I believe we'll be posting this video on the Senior Center's website in a week or two. So you'll be able to pull it up again and watch it again if there's something that you wanted to see. All right, take it away, Pete.
All righty. Good morning, everybody. So I launched a poll not too long ago that you may have seen pop up. If you're using a phone or a device that I guess isn't like a laptop. Laptops usually are the best ones. I believe iPads too. You may not see it. So if you don't worry about it. It's really just dependent on which device you are using. But feel free to answer that poll. Just kind of trying to gauge to see how we take the presentation. If we have brand new people, but in overall, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and touch on how Zoom is done. So I will start, and I know a couple people are in here for share screen options. So I did add that in there. So just bear, we're going to start from the very beginning. Here we are. So this page actually threw me off when I was doing it because I was looking at Zoom through a share screen Zoom. So first and foremost, this is your start screen. As most of us already know, this is where we begin our Zoom journey. So you can do it one or two ways. This is the most common, where you download it through an app. So this right here is through a computer, and this one right here is what it may look like through a tablet. So I'll go back again. So both interfaces are pretty much the same. Let me go ahead and move this. They are pretty much the same in ways that they aspect. The icons right here, where you see my mouse kind of lingering around right here. This is the profile picture I believe that some people are asking about. So I will actually show you how to get over here. So first and foremost, before we even get started, I know a lot of us join through Zoom by just clicking the link. So Zoom, I just wanted to share that it is a 100% free program, free platform for you to use. So one of my suggestions is, so that Zoom just has a record of how, I know a lot of people are saying stored Zoom numbers. I'm assuming you were meaning the Zoom IDs, just for the sake of everything, just so that we're using the terms that we use for Zoom. Any of the numbers you receive from the Pasadena Senior Center are the Zoom IDs, unless you're physically calling in, and of which those then do become phone numbers. One of the things that you do, you go to zoom.us and you could register yourself for an account, and that is 100% free. When you start seeing stuff that goes, we have to pay, or there's pay stuff, those are more so for businesses such as ourselves, where we run 10 different Zoom accounts just so that we could allow programming and everything. But you don't have to worry about that. Each Zoom account, even if you'd like to meet with friends and family, you can start a Zoom meeting on your own. Again, 100% free. And when you do that, there is time limits though if it is a free account, and I believe it's about 45 minutes if you have 3 or more people in it. But then I don't know what the time limit is. Just say for instance it is 45 minutes if you do a one-on-one. But it is free. You're free to use that. When you are in the midst of registration, once you go through it, you could go to your account settings, and through your account settings, you could choose your profile picture. Once you choose your profile picture in your account settings through zoom.us, you will see your picture jumping right on over here. So when you do disable your camera, that's what's going to come up is your profile picture, as opposed to it just saying your name, like Pete's Zoom or Pete's iPad, whatever your name is on that account. So mine is Pete Matus. My profile picture will come up, and that's how you get that switch. Now, if you want to do it directly, now if you're logging in through the app, the same credentials that you have registered online with, you would go ahead and you would go to your main Zoom screen. Once you launch your screen, you'll see log in. You would log in, and again, whatever you've done on the website will carry through the app. And I believe on the next couple slides, I will show you how to actually change it through the app itself. So both screens, again, this first screen will be from a computer platform. This would be from a tablet platform. So both of them kind of mimic. You just have to take note that some of them move from side to side. So as opposed to the icon, and you know what? I'm going to stop using my mouse because it keeps flipping me back and forth. You see that my picture is right here. Settings are right here, this little gear. Anytime you see this little gear, that's what's going to take you to where your settings are at. Now, if you're on a platform, you will see that the little icon is over here. So once you click this, it will take you to a different set of options. But if not, you would go ahead right here and you would click your settings, and that would take you to what the following screens will be like. If you were to click this would take you to what the account actually is, and it would give you the option to log out and log into a different account if you had a multiple account. When you click the settings, this would be your settings screen. Now, keep in mind, one of the things I want to mention is that Zoom is always updating. And at the time I made this change, the settings have changed just a slight bit. It's not usually too big of a change as what we call the interface, which is what you're actually looking at. That doesn't necessarily change too much. It's just some stuff may get kind of shuffled around. So it's more so always important to just go through your Zoom and just look at it, play around with it, see where everything is at. And then after a while, it'll just become like second nature. But just like anything else, you want to make sure that you are running the most current version of Zoom. So for Mac's sake, you would go ahead and you would go to your top part of your computer and you would go under the Zoom, and then you would there's an option where it says check for updates. For Windows, I believe you would click through where your profile picture is at, and it would be one of those options somewhere around there. You'd have to look, or you can always just go to zoom.us and you could just download the Zoom client and it will download the most up-to-date version for you. Now, it's actually important for you to do that because 9 times out of 10 when they do those releases, it has to do with the security update of some sort. And I will get into why the security is very important of Zoom and a couple things that you should and should not do while doing Zoom. So while you are in this setting, let me make sure what my next one is. Okay. So when you're in this setting, you'll see along the edge right here, you'll have different options right here. Your video, where I believe where the gentleman who was having issues with this camera, you can go through your video settings, and he did mention that it's on the HD setting. You would find that under this video option. Normally, even then with your videos, you see I have this clicked right here where it says dual monitors, usually because I'm using a separate monitor along with my laptop. So 9 times out of 10, you will not need to use that setting unless you are using an external monitor. But typically, these are the settings what I typically leave it on. You have different things, backgrounds, which Lynn will get into, and then your profile. Here's your profile option right here, where my little mouse is circling around. Once you go there, you will see your profile will give you access to your photo, your email accounts and all of that good stuff of your account. But mind you, this will only happen if you are a registered user through Zoom. Again, it is 100% free, and I highly recommend that you do it. But your profile picture, once you have that, you could change that. And once you disable your camera, that picture that you choose will represent you. In my case, when I do mine, it's me eating a piece of sweetbread, because I always forget to change it, but that is what represents me. But yeah, so that would be where you're at. And then everything else, is just kind of, just if you're a real hardcore Zoomer, those options are applicable. But for those that are just kind of zooming away with classes and stuff, really the ones you just have to deal with is your video, and all of that. All righty. So your
Pete,
next screen.
Pete,
Yes.
can I interrupt for a moment?
Sure.
As you are talking and pointing out some of these things, questions come to mind. Do you mind if we ask a question of you?
No, go
you're
ahead.
Yeah,
discussing it?
actually, I would ask that you please save the questions until a Q&A period, or put them in the chat, because with 50 people in this, everybody asking questions as they come up becomes a little too complicated. So please put them in the chat. And some of these I'm actually answering when I can on the chat. And then there will be time for more elaborate answers later. We have a lot of different levels of skill on this, so we're just going to cover the basics first, and then go into some of the more complicated stuff next.
Okay, fair
That'll-
enough.
Thanks.
And typically I'll kind of see the chat. This is one of the rare instances where I'm not using a second monitor, so I can only see my PowerPoint presentation, which is kind of driving me a little nuts right now, but nonetheless, got to make do with what I got. So yeah, so I will answer it at the Q&A time. So once you are fully in your meeting, so your meeting could start either way. So I'll actually back up once again. So when a lot of the times you call the center, you get a link, and the link, you click it, you go into your meetings, no problem, you're good to go. But then there are those sometimes that you can actually just call, and you could say, hey, can I have the Zoom ID and the password? So if you do receive an email, whether it's from the PSE, whether it's from anywhere, and it just gives you Zoom ID and a password, you're going to want to click this part right here where it says join, and it'll look pretty much the same across the board. Join. Once you click join, it's going to ask you for your Zoom ID, and the Zoom ID, you put it in there. If there's a passcode, it'll prompt you where it says passcode or password. You would input it there and you would join the meeting. If there is none, once you click in the meeting, you're good to go. So for the young lady who had a question about storing numbers, if you input it, now this is one of those things that how much zooming do you do? And who do you Zoom it with if they've set it up with the title of there? Because a lot of people will send out a Zoom invite and it'll simply just say Zoom meeting. Now, if you are taking classes at PSC, each one of those meetings have a name to it, whether you're taking French, whether you're taking free weights and fitness with me, whether you're joining a social hour with Annie, those have names. So once you input them, providing it is the same link, so if you're taking a class, you know that that link is good for 10 weeks, you would go ahead and you would type it in, go to join, and then when you go back to take your class again another day, and you start off at the screen again, once you click it, you'll see a little arrow on the side. You could click that arrow and it'll show you all of your meetings that you have manually inputted in there. So you can easily click it and there it will be for you. The only problem with that is I do not believe it saves passwords. It used to at one point, and then they took it off, but I wouldn't be surprised that 5 minutes from now, Zoom updates again, and there it is again. That's just the nature of Zoom.
Okay, I'm just gonna jump in real quick and say, I keep an Excel spreadsheet. I just literally copy the link and write the password in the column next to it. And Excel will direct link. So all you have to do is click on that link in Excel and it'll take you directly to the meeting.
And that's actually perfect. Annie likes Excel. I actually use Microsoft Word. And I know as a Mac users, a lot of people use the Notepad feature. All of those, you could take all your links, put them right there, and you are good to go. So yeah, thanks, Annie. Yeah, that's actually one of the best ways to actually do it. And I do it for myself. So I do it for all 28 of our online classes. I have one master sheet where I can easily access. Let's see here. So once we are now in the meeting, one of the first things you see will pop up is join with computer audio. And this is one of the biggest, I think, calls where we get, I can't hear anything, I can't hear anything. Well, it's because you've bypassed the screen. There's a little red X, or if you're on Windows, it's over here. If you do not pick this option, you will not be able to hear anything. So one of your options is join with computer audio, meaning you are going to simply join with your speakers and you will be able to hear anything. If you've bypassed this step, whether on purpose or whether on accident, and you can't hear anything, one of the things you want to look at is on the bottom area, on the bottom left. I can't put it there because I'm in a PowerPoint presentation, but you will see the little headphones with the arrow pointing up. If you see that, it means you have not connected with any type of audio whatsoever. So you'll click that and you will receive this little prompt yet again. And then you would go ahead and you would join with computer audio, and you will be able to hear. Now, second thing, I've done that already, Pete. I can't hear anything. What am I doing? Here's the fix. That's usually is the fix. Your computer speakers are turned down, and there is nothing we could do about that on that end. So make sure when you are joining a Zoom, your computer speakers are turned on and turned up. And then if at that point it isn't showing you, you're not hearing anything, and you don't see an arrow, it should just look like a microphone at that point. If then you don't hear anything, then we could start going through different things. But 9 times out of 10, again, that is typically the problem, that the computer is speakers have been turned down, or you have not joined this screen. Alrighty, next screen. So actually, I don't know, I'll go up one. Let's see. Okay, so perfect. Okay, so this is the little pop-up button I was telling you about on the bottom, if you see the little arrow going up. So if you have multiple different devices that are connected that you use as speakers, so if you're using AirPods or any type of wireless device and it is on, you will see that as an option right here. If you have an external speaker that you have connected, you'll see the option right here. If you're just using your native computer speakers, it's right here. So if you can't hear anything, you may want to click around. Your microphone will typically be linked to whatever your camera is on. So because I am on a MacBook, it's going to say my MacBook microphone. But if you're using an external camera, the two should usually match up, where you'll have the select a microphone will go hand in hand with whatever video source you are feeding from. So again, you could check these options to make sure that it is on the speaker that you want to hear, and you should be able to hear. Now, if you go, let me go on back here. If you go to your camera, if you're using a camera that you have plugged in, it sometimes may want to default to whatever your default camera is. So if you're using a computer or a laptop, it may go to that. So you can always go to your start video option, and then you could go ahead and click whichever camera is the camera that you want to use. And that right there should enable it to go. One of the things too that a lot of people get confused is when you click that start video option, some people don't want to be on camera, and which is perfectly okay. And as you can see from my profile picture, it's me eating the piece of bread. That is sadly the photo I chose to represent myself, but I guess no better photo than that. But on the video, when you start video or stop video, it does not affect what the speaker is doing. That solely just disables your camera and re-enables it yet again. So if you don't want to be on camera, do not be afraid to go ahead and click that option, as it will not take away from the speaker in any way. That is one of the misconceptions, that people think that you're gonna interrupt it. Really, the host of your meeting has the full control of what happens in the meeting, and pretty much nothing a participant could do can interrupt that flow unless they unmute themselves and start yelling really loud, of which the host could then either remove you from the meeting or just block you from talking altogether. So be nice to your hosts. They have the power when it comes down to Zoom. So if you are on, you go again and you see 3 little dots when you are on a Zoom meeting. These, I believe, is from iPad. So this is from a tablet form. So as you see, the options are on the bottom when you are on a PC, Mac. When you are on a tablet, they have a tendency to be shot up to the upper right-hand corner. So the three options will give you different options that you can use. You can use your raise hand, which some of you guys have figured out. Your security option, you probably will not see if you are not the host of the meeting. A lot of these are not applicable to just regular Zoom users, but keep in mind that if you are hosting, as I know some of you guys are some Zoomers right here, one of the options that you can do is you go through your sound settings, and there is an option where it says enable original sound. Now, one of the questions is, what is that? If you are leading a fitness class of some sort, or you guys are just playing music, having a virtual online party, you always want to enable that sound. Zoom has done a really, really good job of making this platform pretty just straightforward for conferencing. So when you don't have original sound, it's going to filter out all the nonsense going around. It has those birds chirping and the parrots flying that's outside my window for you guys not to hear it. It's only going to focus on a voice. It picks up on your voice, and that's what it's going to come in loud and clear. Once you enable original sound, all your elements that you have going on in the background will start coming through the microphone. So this is particularly good if you have, for some of our fitness classes that do use music, we enable original sound so that you could hear the music without it going and then it goes up and it goes down. And that's just because you're driving your Zoom app absolutely berserk, trying to figure out what is the voice and what is the background noise. And then again, you will see a lot of emojis. You'll see different things right here. So again, one of the things too is always just play around. Once you click your participants, that's where you're going to see your name, and then you're able to do different things from there as well. All righty. Let me see here. All righty. So again, different view options as well. If you want to just specifically pinpoint in on who is speaking, you would click on the upper right here, click on your view. Now, if you're using a tablet or you are using, a tablet of any sort, it's going to look like a little waffle, sort, and that's usually around this area. You could switch that from a speaker view or a gallery view. So once you are here, gallery view, you're going to start stacking people side by side. So if everyone were to go right now and just click, or as soon as I'm done with the share screen, click gallery view, you're going to see everybody that has a video enabled or disabled for that matter, side by side in little boxes. So we all look like a big happy Brady Bunch. If you want to focusing completely on a speaker, you're just going to go right in on speaker view, and only who is speaking will be on your screen. And if that person is highlighted, no one else who speaks will come up except for the highlighted person. So one of the things where I mentioned a little bit earlier on was making sure that your Zoom is up to date security wise. Zoom, if you remember way back in the days where one of the biggest threats when you were talking about any type of computers was Trojan viruses, where people could go ahead and put malware in your computer and control access to your computer. Well, essentially, Zoom can act as an agent of that, but not for a malicious intent, but in case we really do need help. A lot of the times, sometimes when I need to look at a file, my manager will say, all right, share the screen, and we're going to go ahead and he's going to give me access to his computer. And then I could actually navigate his computer, everything on his computer, open up files and show him exactly where I'm looking at. So be careful that if you are Zooming with people you don't know, and this option comes up right here where it says, Pete Matus is asking for permission to remotely control your desktop. If you see that, unless you really, really, really know that person and you really, 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 really trust that person, always click deny. Because the minute you do that, that is opening them up to browse through your computer and see everything that you see just on their end remotely. They can change files. They can do a lot of, it's just like basically having them in front of you. So please, please be mindful. And a lot of those security updates that come out for Zoom will protect for just malicious, just intents such as that. And more than anything, once they do it, it's just overall for your safety. So now, I know a couple of people had reached out to me, hey, you're going to touch on screen sharing, and I don't believe I did this last time. So just really quickly, as quickly as I can be. So if you are looking to screen share, it starts right here where you see that screen share green button, the only green button that's on the bottom. That's going to allow you to share what you need to share. If it is not there, it means the host, for a whole different reasons, may have disabled that screen share options. And usually when they do that, it's because there is going to be no reason why you need to screen share. And believe it or not, a lot of people want to experiment with what that button does. And the minute you do that, it will override, a lot of times that the security settings aren't correct, it'll override what is going on. And then it'll disrupt the meeting. So a lot of hosts will disable that option just to make sure that the flow of their meeting goes on as it should. So once you get to that point, you're going to see this cute little box. For all intents and purposes, you really just need to stay in the basics. So one of the things, what you want to do is prepare yourself before you even start to share. Make your life a lot easier. So for this example, I've looked up on Safari, one of my favorite musicals, probably one of my favorite movies, The Newsies. I went on YouTube, I looked it up, and I have it waiting in the background. Now you see my PowerPoint is here as well, because I was getting ready to run it. But you will see that you have two different options right here. You want to click the box that you want to share. So that's why it's always important for you to just pre-open it, let it be running in the background, and then you go ahead and you click that. Now, one of the biggest things I hear, I'm trying to share it and no one could hear anything. Well, that's why you see two arrows and two underlines under where it says optimize for video clip. Yes, you can always click share sound. And when you share your sound, whatever is being played on that video, you will be able to hear, or everybody else will be able to hear, I should say. Now, you want to be a nice host and you want to click optimize for video clips. What this will do is it will basically, as quickly as it possibly can, render everybody's bandwidth and how they are doing it, and it'll optimize it so that when you are running that video, it's not going to be hiccupy, jumpy, laggy, delays, crash. It's going to give it the best possible option for viewing. So you always want to make sure you click that. And once you click that, by default, share sound is going to click on, and then you are ready to share. So once you share it, it'll come up, and now you're going to actually see right on the top where it says you are sharing your screen. So if you are on YouTube, which I know a lot of our participants, that's what they're sharing it for. Once you are in this mode, it is just looking like at your computer. You could go ahead on the bottom. This right here, this little box right here allows you to full screen it so that everyone could watch on a full screen. So again, you are doing this. If this right here, up in the top right here, green says sharing screen, you're sharing screen, you are good to go. And if you've clicked optimize screen, they'll be hearing it. But believe me, if you are playing something and no audio is coming through, everyone in your Zoom meeting will let you know about 20 times they can't hear anything. So then comes the other problem. You see the dreaded orange screen where it says share screen is paused, bring your shared window to the front. And that's the next call I typically get. Pete, I see an orange screen. What do I do? All right, let's not worry. We got this. All right, what we will do, if you are sharing, so I was sharing the Newsy screen, you're just going to want to bring it up again on your computer, that browser that had that Newsy screen. Because once you take it off of whatever box you originally started sharing, it I guess so that you're not accidentally showing what you're not supposed to be showing, it will pause your share screen options and block everybody from seeing what they potentially should not see. And then once you bring it up, it'll switch back again to that share screen. And once you're green, you're go. And once you're yellow or orange, bring it back up. Something went sour somewhere. And then once you are done, you're going to stop your screen share and you are good to go. And that is all I have.
Oh, that's all that you have, Pete?
As quickly as I can. I know I kind of went through it, so.
Okay, that's quite a bit. I was just looking through the questions here. So let's see. One of the ones that I think that you answered most of them. One of the here, let me spotlight myself again. By the way, you can hosts get to add and subtract spotlights. Let's see. There were a couple of questions about breakout rooms, and if we have time, we will address those at the end of this session, since that's really an advanced option. I have to admit, I don't know how to do breakout rooms. Let's see, there was, where is it here? A question about someone couldn't find the place on, my new laptop has no 3 dots or more function that allows a virtual background. That's Richard's question. I think that part of the answer to that is, with all the updates, the things move around. You just sort of have to figure out where the keys are, right, Pete?
Yes. So actually with those, you may not, the 3 dots will typically only happen if you're on a tablet. So even if you are on a PC or you are on a MacBook, if you click on the little arrow either on the mute or on the stop video, and you click, for instance, I'm on the mute button and I click audio settings. Once you click audio settings, it's going to take you right to the specific tab where it says audio. But at the same time, you will have full options to all the other options as well. So you could always, that's what I typically do when I need to get into an option and I am in Zoom. You could go from that point and then you could go to general and then you could kind of play around with the other options.
And also say that the 3 dots is on the PC as well. And it's just you hover in the corner of your own picture and it should have that option. I was just checking on typically it should be under the up caret under your video icon. It should come up on under video or under, if you've lost the 3 dots, I can't help you. But the menu items do move around from place to place. Unfortunately, it's one of the challenges of this. So it's always good sometimes just to sort of, anytime you think there's been an update, then just sort of check to see where everything is. There were a couple of questions about the virtual backgrounds, and I was sort of busy dealing with some of this admin. Did you cover virtual backgrounds, Pete?
No. So virtual backgrounds will still fall under your video options, and I'm not sure if Lynn was going to touch more on. Okay, so Lynn will touch it. So I'll let her go with that, and then
a couple of sort of technical things about virtual backgrounds. Is that they are problematic, and Lynn, you'll be covering all of the pixelation and it's not always the answer to everything, but so Lynn will cover all the technical, how to put them and what works. Okay. Right, and let me bring Lynn into the conversation here. There you are.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Lynn. So, let's see. So I think that those are the primary questions that came in the chat. So let's just take a moment to see if there's any verbal questions about the basics of turning on and off sound, on and off video, sharing screen. If anybody has a question, if your video is on, wave your hand or raise your hand. Okay, Richard, go ahead and unmute yourself.
So if there is a Zoom update, you've been talking about Zoom updates, do we get a notification that lets us know there's something we need to click to update it?
So a lot of the times, so here's how it goes. Windows actually, for most part, had done a really good job of it just self-updating as soon as you launch a new meeting. For whatever reason, it's not. So through your settings, again, through, I think Annie said, if you click your profile photo and then you click around that area, you would just be able to go ahead and push a download, check for updates. And if there's no update available, it'll say no update available. If there is, then it'll show you what the new model, what the new version number is, and you could download it. For Macs, it's the same thing, except it's on the top where you go under where you see Zoom, it'll say check for updates. So even through the app, if you were to go and you click about, it'll tell you. So I couldn't tell you what the new version is. I just always just once a week go in and just do a update and just update my.
Yeah, I'll just a moment, Graham. Yeah, I'll just add that whoops, that I didn't know that I needed an update. I never got any notice. And I use my laptop, but I have Zoom through the senior center. I also have personal Zoom, but my desktop told me that it needed updates and automatically updated, but my laptop did not. And only when I started losing the ability to do things, or my icons were all in a totally different place than everybody else, did I figure out that I actually was several updates behind. So I think that if you use Zoom frequently, just sort of every couple of weeks going in and seeing if there's an update is probably a.
Could you say
useful
one more
thing.
time where you go to see the update? What do you click on to find the update?
Are you, Richard, are you using a MacBook, a PC, a tablet?
A laptop right now, a PC laptop.
Okay, so Annie, do you want to?
I'm afraid of going into the page and like deleting and getting rid of everything. But it took me a long time to figure it out. And just on when you go into zoom.us and you log into your own side there, I had a little circle in the corner with my initials. And when I clicked on that, after clicking on every single other thing on the page, that finally gave me a drop-down menu that included check for updates.
Thank you.
All right, Graham, you had a question?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Francis. Okay.
Okay.
The-
I put up a written question. The question is how to do the recording. What's the procedure to do recording?
Okay, I'll touch that really quick. Francis and then Graham will go to you. So the recording option, that pretty much is that's a paid option. So you won't get that from a free version. But if you do pay for that, you can enable that. Once you have it right there, you'll click record and it'll be doing. And if you do have the option, then you could just do it remotely and it'll just download onto your computer. So it's really just the way you set up your meeting options that'll allow you to do it that way.
But also the host makes that options. Like you can't record
Right.
senior center events because we have disabled participants being able to record.
Right.
So only the senior center records. You have to get to the host and ask them for a recording if it's not something that you have hosted yourself.
Thank you.
Okay. Graham.
Annie, first of all, what kind of camera and microphone are you using? Because your voice audio is nice and clear and crisp. That's what I was looking for on this dumb camera that I bought that I'm going to send back. Now, just hold that thought for a moment. Pete, one question I have is this. I thought that it would be interesting to try a background. And I went to try and do it, and it told me that my equipment was not capable of handling it. I'm running a Hewlett-Packard compact computer, and I'm running Windows 7 Ultimate on that computer. And I don't see that should be a limitation. Do I need to go out and buy a better machine?
It actually is a limitation. And I'll explain why. Anytime you use a virtual background, and Lynn will go into a little details of how to do it, but the background of it is every time you use a virtual background, it is using memory off of your computer. And not only is it pulling memory from your computer, but when you are broadcasting, it is doing a download to keep that background, and is doing an upload so everyone could see it. So Windows 7 is actually not supported by Windows anymore. That is an old operating system, which means even if you are using Windows 7, one of my recommendations is that you either update the system if it can, or it might be a time. So my guess is that the computer might be more than about 5, 6 years old, the desktop, or around that ballpark. So once again, just like Zoom, if you are using something that is not updated anymore, anytime hackers want to go into your computer, it leaves it vulnerable because there is new viruses come up, new malware comes up, new ickies of the internet come up. And whether you're on a Mac, whether on your PC, a lot of them do preventative measures for them to block off different areas for people to access. So now if it's saying the capabilities isn't there, it's simply that the computer at that point cannot really be able to uh help you to do that, and it won't allow you to do it only because then it will completely take away from your Zoom experience.
So in other words, you're suggesting a new computer might be a good idea,
That
and probably I should be looking at Windows 10.
Correct. So anytime, yeah, because yeah, Windows 7 is, yeah, it's considered obsolete now, and it's just running through the motions for you. And I'd say give it another year or so, because a lot of the times with the computers, you'll start seeing processor speeds become a lot faster, memories start becoming more. Because even going to website downloading is whether you think you're downloading, anytime you bring up a website and a photo comes up, words come up, those are all downloads. So some websites are ginormous. So you want to make sure, yeah. So at this point, it might not be a bad idea for you to consider upgrading your system.
I had also
And that
been
would solve your
considering,
that would
Yeah.
solve your camera problem too,
So,
Graham.
and it just as a nutshell too, Graham. A lot of the times, if a camera is a really, really good price on Amazon and on Prime, or on, I'm sorry, Amazon or eBay, you really want to check the reviews, because one of the common things that happens with cameras that are on the cheaper end, it gives it that fisheye look. And my manager, our operations manager Dion, found out firsthand with the camera he got off of Prime that it gives you a fisheye lens because it's cheaper to do it that way. It'll look good for a little while, but then you will really start seeing it break out. One of the cameras I highly recommend, tested, tried and true, are Logitech cameras. You could get a couple of ones that are broadcast at 720, 1080, those higher resolutions, but 720 seems to be a really good thing. So Logitech cameras are really, really, really good, and they're pretty affordable at the same time too.
Do you want to just type that in the chat?
Yes.
well, Annie's picture looks good. Of course, she looks good
Yeah.
too. But
This
her-
is
her voice and audio-
this is about a 4 or 5 year old Lenovo laptop. So this is just the camera
so
that's
it's the
inside
camera in the laptop that you're on.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I thought you were using a separate camera.
no.
The voice quality is nice, crisp, clear, and that's the way it should be. So, I don't know.
There, I'll just say as well, there are some apps that you can download that turn your phone into your desktop camera. Then all you need to do is to figure out how to attach the phone to a place on your screen where it's looking at you the right way. And I did that and I gave up.
My general comment really is, I do a business in audio restoration of old phonograph discs, and I call it, or I generally describe it as being the trailing edge of technology. And I'm using a lot of very old equipment for a variety of reasons, because I use software that won't run on anything higher, and I need the software for the abilities or capabilities built into it. So I'm pretty used to dealing with old equipment. It's just that every so often it comes back and bites me.
Well, that's one of the challenges of technology, and I think with Zoom, it's and Pete covered this, and Lynn will cover it as well, is that everybody's on a different everybody's using something different, some old, some new, some updated, their tablets and Androids and Macs, and everybody's having a different experience, which is something, if you are hosting a Zoom, you sort of have to understand that everybody is watching it in a different way. And you just have to be a little, shall we say, patient with whatever is going on. So just a couple of other, let's see, other questions that had come in. Christina had sent a direct email. Yes, there are YouTube videos for everything under the sun. And if you type in sort of your direct question just to Google, it'll probably come up with all sorts of different choices. Pete, do you have is there a particular website that's good for, how about Zoom? Does Zoom have good
Zoom,
stuff?
Zoom off of your YouTube gives good content. Annie's correct. On Google, you could just type in your questions a lot of the times, but I go on YouTube, and my cousin tends to say, "Oh, Pete's at YouTube University again," because I'll use it to answer questions that I have as well. So those are good things. I had seen a question from Yvonne. Did you still have a question, Yvonne?
Yes, I still have a question. But I don't know how to get into the chat to ask my question. That's how come I haven't asked it. So to begin with, how do I get into chat? And then I have a question about screen sharing.
Okay.
How do I write my question if I wanted to ask a question?
So your chat should be, are you using, well, if you're using a computer base, your toolbar will probably be on the bottom, but there's just an icon right there that says chat.
I see it. It says 34.
Yeah, there's 34 different conversations that have gone on.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do I do now? Now what do I do with this?
So once you click, click chat, you'll see all the way on the bottom, there's either you could send it, you could click the arrow, and it'll show you all the participants that are in the meeting. And then you could type your message where it says type message here, type your message.
Okay, I see that. Okay, and then I just write whatever.
And then type whatever you want to say, and then you click it to everybody, and everyone will get your message.
And I said hello, and then what do I do now?
Then click enter or return.
Oh, enter. Okay.
There you are. We got it.
Hello to you too.
Everyone got it. Okay. So my question now is that you show us how to do screen sharing. So the person who I'm asking this for a class. So I'm in a class, and my professor, I'm going to do a presentation. So she's supposed to initiate screen sharing first? No,
you are the one. So the meeting will be set because it's for French, right?
Yes.
It'll already be set that all the participants could do a screen share. So on your computer itself, do you see the green button where it says screen share?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so that would be your starting point right there. So whenever you're ready to screen share, you click that button, and then you will be good to go.
Okay, and then I could choose my PowerPoint presentation from here.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Will it come up on its own once I do screen share?
Once you click it, it'll go through.
See it?
Yes, you'll go through the same process as I did through my PowerPoint.
Oh, okay, I see the options here. Okay, good. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
And then there was one other thing that I don't know if we got completely done with. So when we were talking about how to access updates on the PC, Susan said, how about Mac updates?
Oh, so Mac updates, if you were to take your mouse and drag it all the way to the top, you will see, since you're in the Zoom app, it'll say zoom.us. You would click that, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like the 5th line down where it says check for updates, and then it'll automatically it'll go ahead and bring in the update for you if there's one, or it'll tell you you're good to go.
Okay. All right. So now it's time to move to Lynn. So there's so many questions that come up. So thank you, Lynn, for your patience. Thank you, everyone. And we're gonna move into the portion where we talk a little bit more about how to be seen and how to be heard, and the etiquettes with Zoom. It is already noon, so we're just going to decide that this is going to go till 12:30. So Lynn, you don't have to say it all in 30 seconds. If any of you have to log off, then again, feel free to check back on the Senior Center website. Pete's about to go on vacation, so in a couple of weeks, when Pete gets back from vacation and can upload it to the website. So I'm gonna unshare myself and Pete, and we're gonna leave it to Lynn. Take it away.
Well, great. It's wonderful to be here. And, you know, every time you're on Zoom, you learn a little bit more. Today, I want you to know is that I have 2 new technical terms from Annie. I now have the word up carrot, which now I know what an up carrot is. And from Pete, I learned the ickies of the internet. So I will include those in my vocabulary. But today, I'm here to really talk a little bit about some best practices when using Zoom, and a little bit of Zoom etiquette, and just mention some things that you may or may not be aware of. And we will definitely get into the background, because everybody loves those virtual backgrounds, and there's pros and cons to them. And then we'll also have a little bit of time for questions. So I'm going to start and kind of reinforce a comment that Annie made in starting the Zoom meeting. And that was the fact that there are different reasons why you Zoom. You Zoom for social, you Zoom to be, you know, I've gone to so many Zoom happy hours with friends. I teach. So one of the main functions that I had to learn a lot about is how to teach using this instrument. And so I spent quite a bit of time going to classes about how do you, if you're the center of it, you're the teacher, how do you project yourself the best possible way? So here's just, you know, some tips about things. Okay, so first of all is you always want to have good lighting. And if you were to, right now, if everybody were to change their view, and the view is on an Apple product would be in the right-hand corner, there's a speaker view, there's a gallery view, and there's full screen. So if you were just a couple of minutes, if you were to switch to gallery and kind of look around. Now we have 2 full screens, so you'll see to the right and to the left. You can move so that you can see everybody. A lot of people have their photo up there and a lot of names up there. But if you look at those that are live, the people that are live, you can see varying backgrounds and you can see the impact of lighting. Okay, so a couple of things about lighting is that you always want to make sure that the lighting is in front of you rather than behind you. I'm going to do something that you shouldn't do, and that I'm going to take my laptop for a walk and just walk around my house here so that you can see the differences when I move from position to position. So here I've got light behind me. All right. And so there's a difference, and you might, you know, that may not bother you at all. I know when I teach, I like to see faces. So I don't want to lose somebody because the lighting is behind them. Also be aware is that whatever is behind you is fair game for everyone to see. So if your dirty laundry's behind you, we all know that. If you are you're having your own little happy hour, we all know that too. So the screen that you're on, you know, the rectangle that you're living in right now, is what everybody, in fact, will see. Teaching last semester, I had a class that met at 8:30 in the morning, And I have international students, so it was all these ungodly hours all over the place. But one of the things that, because in California time, it was at 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. So many of my students actually Zoomed from bed, okay? And I finally had to say, it's really, you got to get up. It's important to think about going to school is business. And so you should not be, I shouldn't have people whose heads are like this as they're Zooming because they have a blanket over their head or all their dirty laundry or the things that are open. So just be conscious of the fact that everyone is aware of your background. And that's one of the reasons I think that people have really grabbed onto virtual backgrounds. So they don't have to clean their room. They don't need to clean anything. They can just put a background. And, virtual backgrounds really have pros and cons to them. They're very nice as far as I'm concerned. The technology isn't quite there to make them truly good, most of them. And I will just show you a very quick way using, Pete, are you still, yes, you're still here. I'm going to show you using, I have a Mac Pro. And so I'm going to say how I choose virtual backgrounds, and I will change them up. So for me, on the way in which I would get to my virtual, one of the ways, and like anything to do with the computer, there are more than one way to find it. So because somebody said, this is the way I do it, if you explore things, you probably will find alternate ways. But for me, if I go to the, see where the camera is, where it says stop video, that's your camera. So there, if you go to the up caret, thank you, Annie. The up caret is that you'll have some selections. For me, it says select camera, FaceTime HD camera, choose virtual background, and choose video filter. And if we have times, we'll go to video filters because those are really fun. Okay, so if I go to choose virtual background, is that what I will see is various options. There is an option called backgrounds and filters. So right now I'm going to just choose a, see if it did that. Okay. So right now I changed my background. Now, there are some that, and you can download them. You can also use photos that, this was a photo that I had taken when I was in France. So it is just from my photo collection. Okay, so you can add those to your virtual background, and then you simply can collect it. Now, one of the things that happens, and I'm going to kind of move around, is that you can see that as I move around, is that sometimes I get lost in it. Okay, so and part of it, that is it's virtual, it's behind you. So if you move around a lot, you're very likely to get lost in it. I'm going to switch this for just a second to one that has, this is one that you probably have seen before. Okay, we got a little action here. We got, this is setting the mood. Is that with movement, it's lovely. Yes. Is it distracting? Maybe. Again, it depends what you're trying to accomplish. If this is happy hour, meet and greet with a bunch of friends, having, that it sets the atmosphere. So you kind of have to choose what you would like as your virtual background, and also just think about how distracting. We have a whole host of, from the college, I'm at Occidental College, and we have a new pool. And so we have all of these virtual backgrounds with the pool. But what happens is that because it's movement, so literally if you move, you kind of you drown yourself. All of a sudden you disappear and then you come back up. So Annie, did you want to add
Yeah.
something? I saw you.
Yeah, a couple of things is, I don't know if you have a filter on, but you're a little fuzzy.
Uh-huh.
So we're not seeing you super sharp.
And that, okay. And the reason I'm a little fuzzy is one of the other tools that you can play with is I'm going to just go back to my original.
And what kind of computer and operating system are you using?
I have a Mac Pro. So it's pure all Apple products. So the camera, the voice, everything. It's about 6 months. It's about 6 months old.
Yeah, last Apple I had was an Apple II Plus.
Okay.
So yeah, so Lynn, also just one other question that has come up that I don't know the answer to is on an Android device, do you know what the background issues are? Because since you're a Mac person,
Yeah.
and I have an Android phone, but I never do that from there.
Yeah, I have an Apple phone, so it's basically the phone operates the same way as this. Pete, do you have an answer for that, to that one?
Are they using specifically from Apple phone? I mean, I'm sorry, from an Android phone? Because typically, even from the phones, remember, keep in mind that a lot of these options, if you're using it from a phone or a tablet, you will not have the options to see the virtual backgrounds and stuff. It won't have the capability to do it. Some do, some don't. So if you don't see it, again, it might just be because your specific device you're using doesn't have it, and it won't show it because the capability isn't there. So it's not going to show you something it can't do.
And I will also just to the quick mention that depending upon the age of your computer or where you are, virtual backgrounds might just not work, or be so pixelated that you shimmer, and it's just really not possible. So like on my computer right now, it's not actually offering me anything except to blur my background. So which it says, and it also says using a virtual background will decrease your video resolution to maintain the bandwidth. So it's so putting that background hurts my bandwidth, but it really also just depends on what device you're using.
So, and Annie had asked the question that I was a little blurry. Hopefully I am a little clearer now. Okay, so two reasons for my blurriness. First of all, it was the very fact that, as Annie just pointed out, is that what was happening in terms of, you've got two processes going at the same time. The real reason why I am now, I am probably not as blurry, I'm a little bit clearer, is that one of the adjustments that I had made, because I spent a lot of time on video and am somewhat vain, is that there is this little thing under appearances that you can soften the lens a little bit. Okay, and so that setting is basically on, again, going to the up caret. I'm getting that technology terms there, the up caret, and going to select a video filter, which is right below the selecting the background, is that you have some options that deal with your backgrounds and filters. You can, let's see, it goes general video. And if I were to click the video, one of the options, it will bring up the camera. And one of the options that it has is under my video, it says touch up my appearance. And what that means is that basically it's a softer lens. Okay, so it's a little bit more forgiving as far as that. But what happens is that when you put this, which is a filter, Okay, so I put a filter on myself and now I have a background. And if you kind of think of the background as another filter, it's two filters. Think about having two lenses together. It usually gets, it's when you when you go to the eye doctor and they go, which one's better, this one or this one. If you ever have two lenses on top of each other, is that you lose the acuity. You're losing the sharpness of it. So that's another kind of drawback. And then if you add motion to your filter, they're just layers of it. And you play with it and you see what works for you. And then you get good at it and you're not blurry and you're not, but they're just, these are just considerations for people to keep in mind.
And,
Okay.
and actually, Lynn, I'm just going to add one other thing, that the other option, which people don't always seem to realize they have, is to turn your video off. So unless you were in a class or something where you absolutely need to be seen.
And it kind of depends on what the purpose of the Zoom is. So if we were getting together and, at the center, they have wonderful kind of like chats of getting together, coffees and things. You want to see everybody. It's social in nature. So more than likely what you're going to do is choose kind of a gallery view to see everybody. And if you want a gallery view and it's social, do you want to just see people's names? No, you'd like to see their faces. Now, there's clearly reasons why you may not want why you choose to turn your video off. The most one of them is just simply because of bandwidth. And it is not the host bandwidth. It's basically your bandwidth. And so you may choose to turn it off you may turn it off for that reason. It may be that, you just washed your hair and you don't want anybody to see it, or there may be a whole host of reasons, but kind of keep the balance going of, why am I here? Why am I doing this Zoom meeting? If I'm here to talk to people, I kind of like to see people to talk to. The bigger the group gets, the more important it is to kind of establish what your protocol is going to be. We have a tendency, we get excited to see each other, so we start talking. Well, if you're unmuted, not only do we hear what you're saying, we're hearing your dog, and we're hearing your cat, and we're hearing the garbage truck, and we're hearing all of those other noise. So you can imagine of what it would be like with 50 people all unmuted. Nobody's really talking, but we're just hearing all of the noises. So usually the larger the group is the more important it is to kind of establish what your protocol is going to be. Like, we're going to all be muted. When you host something, you have those options very easily. And I think Annie so people were muted when they entered, if I'm not mistaken, they were muted when they entered. So as a host, you can go ahead and do that. The other way of doing it is that you just tell people at the beginning, we've got X number of people here, so we're going to mute. Please use the chat function now that you're pros at using the chat functions to connect. If you use the chat function, it's always nice to have somebody who's your co-host that's checking chat. The worst thing is to do is say, use the chat function, and you get so busy that you don't ever check the chat function. So these wonderful people have asked all these questions, but you just, you're not seeing it. So having kind of a co-host is something that is, kind of an important consideration. Let's see, we talked about various views.
Lynn, there is a question from, let's see, where is it? From Christine. She says, is the boost filter like your touch-up? And I don't actually have a boost filter, so I can't answer that one.
The boost filter, is it on, are we talking about a Mac product? Oh, it's on the PC.
Yeah.
It's on the PC. Pete, can you answer the PC question? I apologize. I'm kind of gotten into
Well,
just,
I'm looking at my PC and I can't find a boost filter. So I don't know. Try it, Christine, and see what happens.
It may be just a culmination of everything. Because like I said, not specifically what'll happen is that there a lot of the time Zoom wants to be pretty uniform, or used to be. So that boost option may actually be how to touch it up, but it'll only give it like a bump up without actually having to change this and that. So, but exactly what Annie says, a lot of things, especially with Zoom, is always trial and error. Try it if it looks good, and if it doesn't, just unclick it.
And then there's the $64,000 question. Juanita, best question of the day. Where can I practice the camera functions before going into a meeting? So
Actually,
I think that's really great. I'm looking at this. I can choose a video filter. I go to Studio Effects and I can put on a mustache. Isn't that nice? Okay. But I think maybe I won't, put the eyebrows and the mustache on while I'm hosting a meeting. Oh, I'm doing it right now. Okay, none.
you are
none.
doing it right now.
So
so one of the ways that I do it, believe it or not, is if I'm registered as a Zoom user, I go in and I just start a meeting by myself. And typically when Zoom comes up with these crazy updates of whatever, I will go in, and then if really need be, here's the advantage of being the Zoom admin for the Pasadena Senior Center. I have 10 accounts I could play with at one time if I want. So I could go in and create a meeting with at least however many devices I have. At most I've done on my own just to test something is 6 different devices, where I have 6 different meetings going on just so I could kind of see what happens. So, but for video, to test the camera settings, start a meeting by yourself and then just feel free to have at it. Because what you see on your screen is what everyone else would see. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah. And
Right.
that would, just for clarification, it's not it's not just having the Zoom app on your device. You need to log in and create a Zoom account under your name. It's free, it's easy. They don't send you a million emails. So you just need to create your own Zoom account so that you can start a meeting yourself. Or
Pete,
get a
I've got
friend to
question.
start a meeting and play together.
Pete, I have a question.
Sure.
If you look at my image right now, my face is washed out because up in front of me here is an outside window and it's bright sunny day out there. I've fiddled with everything I could fiddle with to see if there was an adjustment somewhere that I could cut down the video sensitivity or something so that I could at least, look like I wasn't a ghost.
It's called
Yeah.
putting a curtain up.
Yeah, that's it's when it comes to light sensitivity, even as a photographer, you can't play with light. I mean, light will either be your friend or it'll be your enemy. But if you were to turn on even your sensitivity, if Zoom had an option that way, you'll either darken up your whole screen or do whatever. So the only other option, I guess, as Annie said it so easily, a curtain, something to lower it down, or you just want to maybe move back a little bit if possible from it. But there's nothing really. I mean, there you go. See, so
Yeah,
so
I literally just take thumbtacks and, put a scarf or a bandana over the window or something.
Yeah. And one of the
Yeah.
things that you can do is that if you have a phone with a camera, if you walk around your house and just rather than you're not taking a picture, but you flip it. So you're going to take a selfie. If you just walk around with your phone, is that you can see what you're going to look like. So rather than, taking your laptop or taking the whole thing and moving around, it's the same thing. You get a really good idea of what you're going to look like. Take your camera, flip it to the selfie, walk around and go, hey, this is where I look the best. This is where you can see me. This is where it's less distracting.
Well, I think I'll probably have to get a little black curtain or something and pin it up here.
Yeah. One of
I
the,
mean, if I go on a Zoom meeting, at night, when that light is not coming in, it looks great. But it's not convenient for me to try and move it. So I guess what I got to do is cover it up.
yeah, there's all, there's all sorts of that sort of thing, and you just, you figure it out. I mean, where I'm sitting, I have beautiful natural light and I look great until the sun goes down, and then I have to, deal with lights in a different way. But anyway, we've got just a few more minutes, so I want to move along because it's a lot of trial by error. Pete, did you have a?
I think Margie, did you have a quick question before we moved on? Because I only have a couple minutes and then I have another meeting I have to jump into.
Yeah, so did you want to be able to answer that question about pinning?
Yeah, now I can't pin the video, and before I could. That's just one thing I don't understand what happened.
So in regards to pinning, are you just trying to move a different video to pin it somewhere? Or are you talking spotlight? What are you using the pinning for?
Yeah, to spotlight somebody.
Okay, so spotlighting, you won't have that option right now because you're not the host. But when you are the host, you have the ability to spotlight. So spotlighting, for everybody, if you're not familiar with the term, that's when Annie has us all spotlighted where we're the only thing that you see. Spotlighting is exactly what it sounds like. We're spotlighting, so you are the center of attention.
Okay, when I clicked on your picture, I have the option to pin. I pinned you just now.
Oh, right. You could pin. So if you pin it on your own, you could pin anybody where you want them to be, and you could pin it specifically.
That option just came back. Now it's there now. Why change?
Yeah.
Well,
so
here, try it. It may be that I just made him, I put him on the spotlight. If I remove the spotlight, can you no longer pin Pete?
No, but let's see. Yeah, you did something to change it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I spotlighted Pete. And so that when you're pinning, you're moving them up to the front of the video feed, correct?
Correct. So if I'm not spotlighted, you won't be able to pin me. But if we do have multiple people that are spotlighted, then you could move that pin around.
Yeah. So a question is, so what is a pin? And so that's if you pin someone, it puts them to the tell us about a pin, Pete.
So pinning essentially could be multiple things. If you are the host, you could pin people. Like if I want to put Annie right next to me, and I'll go ahead and put Margie right next to me too, you could kind of pin them in order. Again, that's really just dependent on what your device is. Not everyone could do it. But then typically if we have if Annie's spotlighted, Lynn is spotlighted, I'm spotlighted, and you'll see a pin. You as the class participant can move us into whichever order you so choose. So you can kind of move around or make sure that we're just front and foremost on your gallery view.
And that's different from spotlighting, which is when the host chooses what you see on speaker view. You can still, if you're on gallery view, you're going to see everybody regardless of whether they're spotlighted or not. But if you're on speaker view, you'll see the people who are spotlighted, and it won't shift around. It won't come to me because I'm talking. Right?
That's correct. You are correct.
Right. I'm I think. So Lynn, you've what are your, and I'll add myself here to the party. What are your last words? What's the most important thing that you can think of with someone using Zoom?
And I'll tell you this, is playing with it. One of the things that I think people after a certain age, if you're under 40, you grew up in a tech world. And like my students, they play with things. They have no fear. My grandkids have no fear of using it. And I think, the old that we have all learned it. This is our computer knowledge has all been learned. And so it's learned information. So, my suggestion is just be like the 5-year-old. Get on the computer, play with it, see what you can, you can do. One thing that's really good about Zoom is that whatever you're doing it on your screen. You are not doing it to the group. You're not doing it to the group. If you're not sharing the screen, no one knows what you're playing with. Okay. If you share the screen, then we get to see everything, but you're not sharing the screen. So take the time to see all of the, all of the things. Do not get frustrated when you worked on it on Monday and then 2 weeks later you go back and it's different, because one of the things that Zoom has, and they've done, this has been, they were not prepared for what, for how they were being used and how massively they were being used. So one of my frustrations has been is I set it up one way and then all of a sudden the raise hand function is changed. They're constantly changing it based upon the feedback they get of what works and also how people are using Zoom. I know that on the individual accounts there's been a lot of emphasis on making it super user-friendly, because a lot of our personal accounts, we just want to socially interact with people. That's what we want to do. So my words of advice, pretend you're like you're 5 and do all the things that, you touch the things, play with them, see what works, see what doesn't work, but have fun with it.
Okay. And Pete?
Oh, same thing. Just remember, I guess one of the things too is always experiment, always play. That's pretty much the only way we learn. And when all else fails, YouTube University, you could go on, type it in, and they usually have great tutorials. If not from Zoom, for other people that have been doing that. And just keep in mind as you're clicking around boxes, one of the important things is remember what you clicked. So when you click one option to change something, get out of the settings options, check to see what it actually did. And that'll be easier, because if something doesn't look correct, you can always re-click that box or on-click that box to remedy it. But if you want to make 20 different changes, now you're going back trying 20 different times to do it. So just keep that in mind as well. But other than that, it's one of those things that it's our friend. So always be nice to Zoom. It smells fair. So if you start panicking, it'll know it. But other than that, you know that we're always available for you. Most of you have my email. If not, you could always call the front desk and they'll be able to link you to me, and I'll be happy to help you.
And then oh, sorry, Lynn.
I was just going to add something to that Pete said. I had a student that actually said, because I said, go, you guys play with it, you tell me how it works and you teach me. But anyway, one of the things that the students were telling me is what a lot of times when they're playing with settings, they'll take screenshots. Because they have a tendency to want to do a lot of things at once, and they do have much better memory recall than I do. But what they were doing is they said, well, then just screenshot it. So, if you have a screenshot of it, what you had clicked and what you didn't have clicked.
All right. Good help all. I will just leave with the final words. The mute button is your friend. For the most part, keep your microphone off unless you are speaking. All of us been caught on mic when we shouldn't have been. So I'm now always sort of looking back. Am I muted? Am I not muted? So anyway, remember to mute yourself. Screenshot, that was the last question that came in. How do you get a screenshot on a Mac?
Control, you're going to hold down Control, Command, and the number 4. And that one will allow you to kind of adjust your box to as much as you want to. So if you want to just take one thing specifically, you can just kind of highlight the box and then it'll screenshot it. And if you do Control Command 3, it'll just screenshot the whole screen in its entirety.
And when you've muted yourself, remember to unmute yourself. All right, that's it. Thank you all for am I still muted? Okay, how about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
You're muted. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you all very much. We will see you next time. Good luck. See you on Zoom. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, everyone. See you on Zoom. Cheers.